What's up, guys? Welcome back. We'll get you a little video on my 2003 Buick Park Avenue. Now, these are not the most popular cars on the road. There's still a lot of them on the road, but at one time, guys, these cars were were everywhere. Uh, the Buick Park Avenue was introduced in the early 90s, I think 1991, and they ran all the way till 2005. 2005 is when they quit making the Buick Park Avenue. And General Motors, uh, they sold a ton of these cars, and these cars were basically marketed to your older your older folks, your older generation, as more or less a luxury car, primarily for the older folks, and that's who basically bought this car. New was your I'm going to say late middle aged to older folks who wanted a nice, comfortable, large sedan to ride in, to take trips in, or even just to drive back and forth to church or to the grocery store, which is kind of what this car was basically used for before I bought it. And so, uh, like I said, these started out in like 1991 and went all the way to 2005. So at one time there were a ton of these on the road. You still see some of them. You still see quite a few on the road if you know what you're looking at. Now I took this in to get tires put on it not too long ago, and the boy in the shop was a younger boy, probably in his 20s, and he had never heard of a Buick Park Avenue. So that just goes to show you that anybody born after probably 2005 or so, uh, they may or may not even know what these cars are. But it's just I love the Buicks. Now, growing up, my parents always drove Buicks, Oldsmobiles, Pontiacs, those type cars. That's what they drove growing up. So up a couple years ago, I was driving uh, uh, a little SUV. Let me think of what it was. It was a little four by four SUV, Chevy Tracker, Chevrolet Tracker, and I drove that as my daily driver. I drove that car. I paid $3,800 for that car, $3,600 somewhere in that neighborhood, and I drove that little SUV for about 5 years, and it ran good. It did good. I've got a video or so way back on that one, and I'll probably do another one on it in the future. I did sell that Tracker. It developed some mechanical issues, so I sold it. And when I sold it, I said, I want something that is good on trips, comfortable. And I thought back to my parents always having those Buicks growing up and riding in those Buicks and those Oldsmobiles. And so I got to looking on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and different places, looking for specifically. I started out kind of looking for maybe a Chevy Impala. I knew I wanted a larger sedan like this, and I found a 2002, I believe it was, Park Avenue on Marketplace, and it was in a little town called Trimble, Tennessee. It's a small town in West Tennessee called Trimble. So I drove down there and took a look at it, and it was a nice car. It was like a gold tan color car. Uh, Good looking car, had like 88,000 miles on it. And that's another thing, guys. You can find these cars still to this day low mileage, low mileage. Like I said, guys, the older people, they might have drove them to church, to the grocery store, just local driving. So it's not uncommon to still to this day find these cars, with less than 100,000 miles on them. And so that car had 88,000 miles on it. Great car. Now these cars do have air ride suspension in the back. The only issue I found with that car is that the air compressor ran continuously. So basically, it probably had an air line leaking on it somewhere, and you could just trace that down and replace that air line. Worst comes to worst, you might have to replace the compressor or whatever. That gets a little pricey. You can also, what a lot of people do is they opt to just swap it out for air shocks. Just change it back to basically air shocks or regular shocks. Just do away with the air ride system. That's a little bit cheaper way to do it, and they make a conversion kit that you can buy. to do that. So anyway, since the air compressor was giving a little bit of an issue, I told the guy, I said, let me sleep on it, go home, sleep on it. There's about an hour and a half drive from there. So I come back home and I thought, I really like the car. The mileage is good on it. It was a nice looking car, had a few little, what I call whiskey dents in it, old people dings, whatever you want to call them. A couple little dings in it, but nothing major. The car was nice looking. It rode good. The interior was clean. No issues other than the compressor. And, I thought, let me go back and do some research and, see what that could potentially cost me if I had to replace that or whatever. And while I was back home that night, I jumped back on Marketplace, guys, and this car popped up in Jackson, Tennessee, which is about an hour drive from here. And this car was listed for us. It's a 2003 Buick Park Avenue. It is not the Ultra. They did make this in the Ultra model. The Ultra had a supercharged 3.8 engine, had the supercharger on it. So it had quite a bit more horsepower. Kind of like your sporty old folks car, I guess it was. Now this car has the 3.8 liter V6, not turbocharged, just your basic 3.8 liter. So I jumped back on Marketplace, find this car on there, and it's listed for, I think they had it listed for $4,000, $4,200, something like that. This was in 2021, so right in the middle of COVID, or just at kind of the start of COVID when things were still bad. And I called the guy, and guys, this thing was listed with 27,000 miles. It said it had 27,000 miles on it. And I thought, well, that's probably going to be a typo. I know you can get these low mileage still, but man, 27,000. So I call, and sure enough, guys, the guy said, no, this is actually 27,000 miles. His mother-in-law, who was like 90 years old at the time, purchased this car brand new right there in Jackson, Tennessee. I'll walk around it while I'm talking and show you. Very, very, very clean car to this day. Of course, it's 2024 now, so I've had it a couple years. This car was bought brand new in Jackson, Tennessee by his mother-in-law, who was, like I said, at the time, 90, in her 90s, I'll say. Well, she retired, of course, and they moved her to Florida. She moved to a retirement center in Florida, a retirement community. And they took the car down there initially, took the car from Jackson, Tennessee down to Florida. Well, apparently this retirement community is one of those communities where basically everybody rides around on golf carts and so forth. So she didn't have any need for this car when she got down there. Because like I said, guys, she was 90-something years old. Prior to moving down there, she only drove this car maybe to the store and to church. Like I said, 27,000 miles. It's a 2003 model. This was in 2021. So the car didn't get driven very much at all. So they brought the car back to Tennessee and put it up for sale for her. And I was just fortunate enough to run across that ad. And of course, the very next morning, I made a beeline down to Jackson, Tennessee to look at this car. And of course, right off the bat, I looked at it, drove it, looked it over, and I thought, yeah, there's no way I'm passing this car up. And I actually even talked them down a little bit, guys. I wound up getting this thing for $3,800. $3,800 in 2021. Now that's a little bit, that's just right before the used car market exploded as well. So I kind of got lucky on that as well. And honestly, guys, 27,000 miles, the car actually had 26.9 something on it. It actually turned over 27,000 miles on the way home. So actually 27,900 something miles is what it had on it when I took delivery of it. So, but I'll walk around and show you the car real quick, guys. It is, the color is called White Diamond. I love white cars. The White Diamond, it's kind of got like a beige color, tan color to it, but it is white. It's White Diamond. Now, they made this car in like a bright white as well. I'll try to show you the paint as close as I can. It's got just a little bit of diamond color to it. I washed it yesterday, and then some of our cats got up and walked across the hood of it. I come out and see that, and that kind of really just pisses me off. But I got the Meguiar's spray wax and put on the hood and wiped it back off some. So, But this car has got the factory chrome wheels. Now the chrome wheels on this are pitted pretty bad. Some of them are worse than others. These are 16-inch wheels, 16-inch wheels and tires from the factory. My little center caps, the Buick logo center caps, I think they probably all fell off by now. I can go back on eBay and order a set of those and stick them back on there. Not a really huge deal. I think I'll probably go ahead and do that. I don't even know if the other ones are on here or not. Yeah, they've all. That one's off. I got one left. Got one. That's what's supposed to be on there, guys. That little Tri-Shield Buick logo. So I just need to order a set off of eBay and put on there. And guys, I did a video of this. I just put a brand new set of Goodyear tires on it. This is my second set of tires. So the day or the afternoon that I picked this up in Jackson, the tires that were on it, I think they were the factory tires, guys. But they were dry rotted pretty bad. They had a little bit of dry rot in the treads and around the edges. So I went straight to a tire shop there in Jackson and put a brand new set of tires on it. And now this is the second set that I've had on it since I've owned it, since 2001. I bought the car to drive. I didn't buy it to park it in the garage or take it to car shows. It's not a show car, obviously. I bought it to drive. I bought it to be my daily driver. I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on a daily driver. And I just lucked out finding this 2003 with 27,000 miles on it, which is basically a brand new 2003 car. Like I said, guys, it's in very, very good condition still. I try to keep it looking as nice as possible. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. I'll show you some of the. It's got some nicks on that door trim right there. A lot of that, I won't say all of that, but 99% of that was there when I bought it. Of course, she probably parked in the garage and opened the door and bumped something continuously. I did have the windows tinted on it. I have migraines. I suffer with migraines, have all my life, so I did go ahead and have the windows tinted. They're 20% window tint. It looks good on the white. I've always liked window tint on cars. I don't like riding around in a fishbowl. I also added the chrome pillar trim. A lot of people may not like that. I've had some people say, man, they should have left it. Of course, from the factory, those pillar trims would be just black. But I did add that pillar trim. I just thought it looked good because you got all that chrome trim around the doors, and then this little pillar trim piece here. I thought that kind of tied everything together. But like I said, not everybody's going to like the same thing. I like it. Now you can go over. I'm a fan of chrome anyway, but I understand you can go overboard. I thought about the chrome fender trim, but again, I don't want to overload it with chrome. There's your Park Avenue emblem on the rear quarter. Of course, on driver's side and passenger side, simply says Park Avenue, and that's your only emblems on the vehicle. There's nothing else on the side of this vehicle. Now on the trunk, I also added this Park Avenue chrome trunk emblem here. Now these came out on the Park Avenue Ultras, the basic Park Avenue, that's what this is, just your basic Park Avenue. It did not come out with that trim piece. I ordered that off of eBay and put that on there. I just liked the way it looked. Okay, not trying to pass this over as being an Ultra by any means, but I thought that trim piece looked good. Again, it kind of ties in with a little bit of chrome around the bumpers and front and rear bumpers and the chrome wheels. Like I said, guys, those wheels are pitted out pretty bad. They just weren't kept clean like they should have been. Again, the passenger side door, same thing on the trim piece. You got a little bit of scuffs there. A few little nicks on the trim piece from parking lot. Little parking lot nicks. But overall, guys, car is super, super clean. I think it's got a spot, yeah, on the corner of this bumper here. It's got a little rub spot there, right there on the corner. I think my dad used to come over and mow my yard for me, and I think when he was coming by on the lawnmower, he got a little close to it one time. Not a problem. I'm never going to say anything about that. On the driver's side corner, That was there when I bought it. It's just a little old person scrape. This little spot on the trunk lid here, I need to touch that up. I was at a gas station during a pretty horrendous windstorm, and the canopy over the gas pumps got to rocking, and I thought the whole canopy was going to come down on top of the car, guys. It was a scary, scary moment. I made a run from the store back to the car, probably against my better judgment, because I thought that canopy was just about to come down. And before I got to the car, a piece of aluminum trim fell off the canopy, swung down, and barely nicked the trunk lid. That's the only damage I had, thank goodness. But I jumped in this thing, started it up, and jetted out of there as fast as this little 3.8 would go. I just knew that canopy was coming down on this thing. Again, guys, I'm happy with the car. Like I said, it's 2024. I've had it since 2021, and no regrets at all about buying this car. I'll show you the interior just a little bit now. I haven't cleaned it out. I drive this car every day, so I use it like anybody else does. I have noticed a little bit of paint loss, paint chipping right here in this little crack here. I've got to, and the same thing on the other side over here. I've got to get that addressed before it gets any worse. I do not want that paint to start peeling. Have to do any major paint work on this car, so I got to get something done on that. But I got a lot of stuff in this car, guys, but it's tan interior, tan leather interior. Very comfortable car. It's got kind of a two-tone, like a brown and then tan. Of course, these old cars here, something you don't see anymore. Got your little ashtray with a cigarette lighter in there. Or no, that's not a cigarette lighter. That's just a little cigarette lighter plug there. Pretty neat. You don't see ashtrays in cars at all anymore, let alone in the back door. It's got power windows, memory seats, power door locks. There's your door locks and your memory seating. Power seats all the way around. Passenger side seats, power. Seat's starting to show a little wear from my big butt sliding in and out of it, but nothing bad. Go ahead and crank it up real quick. She fires right up. I have to shut this door. She got cold air conditioning, hot heat. Everything works in this car as it should. Turn that fan down just a little bit. Guys, see the mileage on it currently is 71,530 miles. So I put some miles on the car. I hadn't let it sit around. I hadn't let any grass grow under it, that's for sure. You got your seek for your radio, AM, FM, your scan button. Over here you got your temperature adjustment and your volume for the radio. And this is cool. If you ever watch specialty motor cars on YouTube, Anthony always shows this when he sells I'm going to turn that down. But when you do the volume on here, watch the knob on the radio. The volume knob moves when you press the volume on the steering wheel. That's pretty cool. And of course, this controls your temperature. So, some pretty cool features from 2003. And by the way, guys, I'll show you my fuel mileage in this car real quick. It gets really good fuel mileage for a large car. Here you see it's averaging 32.3 miles per gallon. 32 miles per gallon. I don't think you can beat that for a large car. And I think I don't know if this is still considered a large car or not, guys. In today's, back in 2003, this car would have been in the class with Lincoln Town Car, Cadillacs, stuff like that. But now in today's course, you don't find a lot of sedans nowadays, but in today's uh, car world, I don't know that this would be considered a large car or not. It's kind of more of a mid-size, but then again, you don't have a lot of sedans nowadays to even compare it with. If you park this next to a Toyota Camry or an Altima or something like that, it's not going to be a whole lot difference in size, to be honest, lengthwise or whatever. Now you're going to have more interior room. Show you guys the engine real quick. Don't have an engine cover on this motor. It never had one since I've had it. A lot of them will have the engine cover up there. It says the 3.8 liter V6 or whatever, but does not have one and never has. But guys, this engine, this 3.8 liter, probably one of the best engines ever made by GM. And again, check out watch Hoovie's. If you ever watch Hoovie's Garage, his mechanic, the Wizard, has a Facebook or a YouTube channel, the Car Wizard. He always talks about what good engines these 3.8 liters are, and they are, guys. I'm telling you. Like I said, this thing's got 71,000 miles on it, and these cars are known to go 200, possibly 300,000 miles if you keep them maintenance like you should. So um, don't be afraid of these cars. If you find one, on Marketplace, if you're looking for something reasonable, you can still pick these cars up anywhere from $1,500 up to $7,000 or $8,000 in today's car market, and you find them low mileage. It's not a uncommon to find these cars even to this day. Like I said, guys, with less than 100,000 miles, I see them all the time pop up. The Park Avenues and the Sabres. I see them pop up all the time with 40, 50, 60, 80,000 miles. So don't be afraid of these cars. If you can get one at a decent price with good mileage, jump on it. These cars they're cheap to work on. Parts are plentiful for them, and they just run great, and they run forever. All right, guys. 2003 Buick Park Avenue. Don't pass one up if you find a good deal on one, guys. Grab it.